The Rat and the Elephant. Ratty Rat loved being the center of attention. If people weren't talking about him or listening to him, then he'd frighten them or make a nuisance of himself until they did. He liked to frighten children by stealing their toast at breakfast. He liked to annoy old men by pulling their mustaches when they were asleep. He liked to scare old ladies by jumping out of dark corners and shouting, "Boo!" Ratty's mischief was known throughout the whole town, and everyone was terrified of him and his tricks. Once Ratty ran off with the teacher's chalk while she was writing on the blackboard. Another time he sat on a lady's hat while she was singing in the church choir. There was nothing Ratty Rat wouldn't do and nowhere he couldn't go. He could squeeze through the tiniest hole. He got into bedrooms and classrooms and playrooms. "I am the boss of this town," he often said. "I keep everyone on their toes." One morning, Ratty saw a crowd of people standing by the side of the road. They looked as if they were waiting for something. "What's going on?" Ratty asked them. The crowd ignored him. Ratty wasn't used to being ignored. "What could possibly be more interesting than me?" he said to the crowd of people in an annoyed voice. A moment later, he had his answer. Down the street strolled a huge, grand-looking elephant. On the elephant's back sat the king wearing his finest red and purple robes and his jeweled crown. Sitting next to the king was a large gray cat. As the elephant passed by, the people waved and cheered. Ratty Rat was enraged. "What are you cheering at?" he asked, running from one person to another, biting at their shoes and trouser legs. "That it's only a measly procession." "Go away, Rat," someone in the crowd said. "We want to cheer for the king and his elephant." "The king and his elephant," spluttered the rat. "What's so exciting about the king, then? If you feel like cheering, I'll give you something to cheer about." Ratty Rat began showing off. He leaped into the air and did the splits. He did 6 cartwheels, one after another. He did a fabulous double somersault. "What do you think of that?" he panted, trying to catch his breath. The crowd did not notice him. All they wanted to see was the elephant, the king, and the large gray cat. Ratty began to feel angry. "I'll make you notice me," he fumed, and he snatched a balloon from a little girl in the crowd. Holding onto the string of the balloon, he floated upwards into the air. "Look at me," he called from high above. The crowd didn't even look up. Suddenly, Ratty burst the balloon and began to fall, down, down, down. He landed on top of a man's hat. Exhausted, he lay there, waiting for someone to start clapping, but nobody did. He sighed. Now he was really mad. "Can't you see?" he shouted. "I'm more important than any elephant." "You're not as big as the elephant, for starters," someone in the crowd said. "You're not as strong either," said someone else. "You haven't got big ears and a trunk," said another. "Big ears and a trunk?" shouted the rat. "I've got ears, a nose, 2 eyes, 4 legs, and a tail. I'm just as good as any elephant, and I'm much more fun." Then Ratty stood up on his hind legs, flung his arms out, and did a little rodent dance. "What can the boring old elephant do that I can't?" he said triumphantly. Watching all of this from his seat next to the king was the king's cat. "Bravo," drawled the cat, bringing his 2 front paws together to give a long, slow clap. Ratty Rat finished dancing and did an elaborate bow. The cat smiled a sly smile. Then, without any warning, he ran down the elephant's trunk, leaped onto Ratty, and pinned him to the ground. "Oi!" squeaked the rat. What do you think you're doing?" I'll tell you what I'm doing," said the cat in a smooth, silky voice. "I'm teaching you a lesson you should have learned a long time ago." The crowd of people laughed to see the rat squirming beneath the cat's paw. "Not quite so cocky now, are you?" they teased. "I'm better than any elephant any day," said the rat defiantly, wiggling and squirming to try and break free. "I couldn't pin down an elephant," said the cat, trapping Ratty beneath him even harder. "An elephant is too big and too strong." "That's right," said the townspeople. "It is far better to be big and strong than to be small and a nuisance. I don't think we'll ever let that rat scare us again." "So, Rat," purred the cat, "if I set you free, will you stop pestering the good people of this town?" Ratty didn't have much of a choice. He certainly didn't want to spend the rest of his life at the mercy of a cat. "I suppose so," he said in a grumpy voice. "Do you mean it?" asked the cat. "Yes," spat Ratty. The cat lifted his paw, and Ratty Rat slunk away. "That's the last we'll see of him," shouted the crowd. They laughed and cheered as Ratty scurried down the drain, never to disturb the town again. Never be fooled into thinking too highly of yourself.